So the very first day that I was in Genoa, someone had recommended to me that I visit I'm going to try and say it in Italian again, Cimitero Monumentale di Staglieno, which is this massive, massive cemetery, not too far from the center of Genoa, not walking distance. It was a rainy day. I took a bus there and it was fine. It was one bus. It was really easy. So I went there. I had no idea what to expect. I had read a little bit about it online after someone recommended it, but not a lot. And it was really stunning. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that before. However, I was not previously in the habit of visiting cemeteries, and I think now I may be. First thing that I passed coming in was actually a stack of really plain wood coffins. And just past that, I saw to either side of me a staircase entering, I suppose it's the mausoleum, and the mausoleum wraps around the cemetery, and it's really, really, really huge. And so I went into my right. On the floor, they have what basically look like headstones where they are engraved with the information of a deceased person and laid into the floor. And I don't know if that means that there are urns under the floor or what, but it's like a long, long hallway. And then all along the hallway on either side are these really, really stunning sculptural sort of diorama. I don't know how to call these, to be honest. And here are plenty of photographs of them. Bizarrely, I didn't find any photographs in my camera roll from the interior of the cemetery. It was also my absolute first real outing in Genoa. The day before, I had just arrived in town, and the only thing I did after dropping off my luggage really was I had gone for a little walk and I had just grabbed some food. And the man at the cafe that I went into happened to speak English, which was really helpful for me in that moment where I was still trying to adjust to being somewhere brand new. And so I hadn't really interacted with a lot of people yet. And the two interactions that I had that day were so nice. The first one was I was on the bus, and a woman who had her back to the front of the bus, so she was facing me. And it was pretty crowded. I was standing, and she asked me a question. And the real issue was that it was a little bit loud and I didn't really hear what she said at all. But it doesn't really matter because I think I was still so nervous about anyone speaking to me and expecting me to be able to speak to them really well, that I must have looked like a deer in the headlights, because immediately another woman answered the woman, and then she said to me in Italian, I can see from your eyes, like basically she was saying, like, I can see how scared you were when she spoke to you. And then she said, don't worry, when I moved here, I didn't speak Italian either. You know, you'll get it. Which was maybe the most perfect first casual interaction I could possibly have had. And then the next person who spoke to me, I was walking into the cemetery and a woman was leaving, and she said something about the weather. It was rainy that day, and I kind of nodded, and then she immediately clocked that I was not a local and said in Italian again, "You're not from here, are you? Don't hang around this neighborhood too long. It's not very good." And I was like, okay, noted, thank you. The second cemetery I went to was the result of Google Maps not knowing what it's doing. And what happened here is that I took the train to Pegli to see the Villa Durazzo Pallavicini, and I got out of the train, and it was a really beautiful train station. First of all, I actually missed my stop because I was sitting in the train looking, as we pulled into the station, looking at how beautiful it is. You pull in, the track is just down below ground level with stone walls on each side and little palm trees along the wall, and it's really beautiful. And then there's like a walkway footbridge thing over the tracks that has this really nice like wrought iron structure. It's very, very pretty. And I was so taken by how adorable this train station was that I didn't realize that it was the one that I was going to. And I stayed on the train for an extra stop. And then when I checked my phone, I was always like tracking the route on my phone to see which stops I was taking on trains and buses. I looked at my phone and I was like, oh dear God, I missed it. And I had to get off at the next station, which was not cute. And also was very confusing, and I couldn't figure out how to get to the other side of the tracks to go back, but I did eventually, and I made it back. Anyway, I had just gotten through that little ordeal when I did make it to the correct stop, and I put into Google Maps where I wanted to go, and I started following the map, and it was leading me up away from the train station pretty far. I think I walked for like 45 minutes, and it took me up through like a residential area and very quiet. This is when I really got to see a bit of Pegli, which is really beautiful, but very, very quiet. And it took me all the way to a beautiful little church. It has this little sort of grotto shrine in front of it with a goldfish pond at the bottom. It was very cute. And then into their cemetery. It actually, the route it showed me was into the little cemetery, which I went into, and again, beautiful. And I stopped and I looked at everything, partly because I was thinking to myself, it seems really strange that you would have a shortcut or a route to anywhere through a cemetery. That doesn't seem very respectful. But what do I know? And so I looked around this whole cemetery and determined that there was no through route. It was a dead end. You go into the cemetery and that's it. You're inside the cemetery. The only way out is the way you came in. So that was not the correct walking route to reach this botanical garden that I was looking for. And I came out, and I also happened to find right next to it a massive hiking trail. And I went in there and followed that for a while because I thought that might be something that would link me back up to the route that Google Maps was trying to give me. Never did. Turns out, and so advice for everyone, if you are in Genoa and you want to go to the Villa Durazzo Pallavicini, you get off the train, you walk out of the train station, you go around to the front of the train station on the side of the coast, and right next door is the entrance to the Villa Durazzo Pallavicini, which I will share more about in another video.